Hey kid, you want some D&D animation and more me? No? Well, screw it. You should check out Spoonstaff Stories anyway. Mrs. Six animated show, written and animated by her and voiced by yours truly. Brand new episode out right now.
He says atoms are self-assembled by a process we don't understand.
He does he? Well, I don't know how to feel about this, because one, I don't know who that he is, and two, because I do know who this he is, and he is a funny way to spell everyone's quote-unquote favourite convict, the one, the only, Kent Hovind. And what is very obviously a clip from one of his many long, stupid and just plain insulting to the intelligence of all beings in the universe seminars, masquerading as a science talk that exists only to massage the egos of the audience he has into feeling better about the fact that science makes creationists look like a bunch of freaking morons. Anyway, self-assembled by a process we don't understand, eh? What could that possibly mean? Probably that God did it, right?
Well, again, you're welcome to believe that, but that's, again, not science.
I mean, I guess it's not science per se, but I don't think anyone would claim it to be science. But it is perfectly acceptable as a thing to say within a scientific framework. In fact, the phrase "we don't know" in some respects is simply the start of science. When you don't know something, you are compelled to look into it and figure out what it is, how it works, why it do, what it do, the way it do it. It's the opposite of, say, oh, I don't know, off the top of my head, creationism, where you already know the answer to everything and all you have to do is figure out a way to make the things that we know about the world fit into that pre-established narrative. And if it doesn't fit, well, let's just pretend it doesn't exist. A bit like how God does with the things that he pretends aren't his fault. Like, well, literally everything, unless he's not actually all-powerful. Shonk. Or, you know, real.
I think the fact that atoms can self-assemble is evidence of design.
Okay, you can think that too, but that doesn't make it the science. I mean, you can claim a thing to be evidence for your whatever idea, but that doesn't mean that it's good evidence. I mean, self-assembling atoms, whatever that's actually supposed to mean, could be evidence of design, but it's also evidence of, well, not that. I mean, if something can construct itself, then, well, potentially it doesn't need to be designed at all. It's a thing that makes itself. The reason? That could just be a feature of the universe. Hell, there could even be a universe creator who didn't design shit. They just throw a bunch of stuff in a pot and whatever happens, happens. At the end of the day, design implies intention. And unless you can actually demonstrate that intention, you got nothing, mate.
The idea that in the beginning, God created the heaven and earth and God plus dirt equals humans, that's not a problem for me to believe.
Wait a fucking minute. You have this whole fucking spiel about my belief is in the beginning God and your belief is in the beginning dirt. Are you kidding me? I can't believe it. Kent Hovind being a massive hypocrite. What a shocking shock that is. But yeah, that's what I said all along to that thing. You telling us that our thing is in the beginning dirt, when that is literally what you believe when it comes to humans. That people who don't subscribe to your ludicrous, idiotic nonsense worldview believe is, well, they can believe a lot of things, but as a rule, the closest in the beginning would be the Big Bang, and the Big Bang wasn't fucking dirt. I'm pretty sure anything that you would even remotely describe as dirt didn't exist for a really goddamn long time after the bang banged. So it's most likely, in the beginning, teeny tiny shit like protons and neutrons. Not exactly what I would call any kind of dirt. Well, unless I was a really specific dominatrix who only works with subatomic particles. Get it?
But time plus dirt equals humans is a real problem for me to believe.
My straw man of the science says about how humans being came to be real is a problem for me. Yeah, no shit, it's a problem for everyone. The thing that you just made up, that no one in the history of ever, present company excluded, preferably from reality, but I never get what I want. No one has said that, because that's not an accurate reflection of what we understand to have happened. Even if we go way closer to the existence of the first life forms, so way after shit was just protons and neutrons and tauntauns, I guess. The first particles that formed together into what we would consider to be like a cell were almost certainly not dirt. Unless you count everything that would be essentially mush in this day and age when, well, that just means that every possible thing would be dirt. But that's not very useful. But I'm pretty sure you mean like mud, essentially. And again, no, that's just not what that would have been. But fuck, even if it was dirt, so fucking what? If we can work out a mechanism for dirt particles coming together without any kind of intervention, then what? Well, I know what. Because every time that we take a step forward, instead of staying still or maybe even coming to meet us in the middle, you have to take a big step back, because it will still and always be God did it, no matter what. Probably because of how intellectually honest you are.
This computer right here.
Oh wow, look at Mandem showing off his fancy computer. He must be the most richest of all his backwater hick friends. I bet it even has that fancy new Windows 3.1s on it. It has a calculator and a word processor, all for the low cost of $99.99. Yes, that's right, not $1,000, not $500, but a mere $99.99. That's so cheap, you can't afford not to have incompatible hardware and have to return it only to find out that the shop that you bought it from doesn't take returns on open box software. Bargain! Although it is clearly just there for show, he can't read or numbers.
Is nothing but natural components.
Wait, is your computer built out of fucking wood? Damn, that's kinda awesome. I hope it's that old wood grain that for some reason every single electronic device at one point was either made from, or at the very least had a fake version on it in like the 60s/70s. Because it just had to be, otherwise the electronics police would come and you'd go to electronics jail or something. Because that shit has gone all the way from being really dumb and ugly to kind of cool. Trends are weird.
There's nothing supernatural about a computer. There's not a little man running around in there changing the numbers on the screen, okay?
Maybe not inside your computer, but when I want mine to be more efficient and stuff, I stick a bunch of humans in it to really get it going. I mean, I say computer, but I guess it's more of a furnace. Either way, look at it go. And to be fair, you get that heat into a generator and suddenly you've got power, and then you can plug it into a computer, and now 100% man-powered computer. If anything, the more people I stuff inside, the better. And there's literally nothing else I could put in there that would be better. What the fuck is this shit? I ain't putting little black rocks in there. You think I'm stupid? Than Kent? Nope, no one is.
It can be understood by purely natural processes.
In all seriousness, depending on exactly how you are defining natural, it kinda can't. I mean, computers don't grow in the wild, there are no silicon wafer trees, and while you can technically make a case out of wood, someone still has to, make the thing. So in that regard, it's not natural at all. Now, if you mean that physical properties of the universe can describe its function at a really low level, sure, I guess, but nobody's doing that. It's more of a mid thing, based on human inventions. Again, something that isn't strictly natural, but whatever.
However, it didn't assemble itself.
No, but machines can build other machines, and while at the time of the recording of this, that was strictly a human designed and maintained process, these days that's not necessarily going to be true forever. As modern things like neural networks become more and more common and complex, there's likely going to be a point where a person might be the least significant portion of the creation of certain things, if at all. And while technically people might have been the originators of that tech, which is doing that, a lot of these systems are kind of beyond the comprehension of many people that actually make them. And at a certain point, if you don't know how or why the thing you made does, well, anything, are you even the designer of its output anymore? And that opens the question of, hypothetically, say there do a God, and they set up a grand experiment that is our reality, with the settings of physics and everything else that made a universe that functioned well enough for what they initially wanted. But because other processes that they hadn't even thought of happening, these emergent properties came to be that weren't even considered. So obviously we aren't talking of an infinite God, but a high enough being to make it same difference. Would you say that they designed those things that just kind of happened? I wouldn't, even if they produced really cool and interesting shit. If no one expected it to happen, it simply has not been designed.
It can't assemble itself.
Well, perhaps if it tried a little harder and got a real job instead of lazing around the house all day playing Minesweeper and Space Cadet Pinball, it would be able to, get itself together, or assemble itself as you call it. But to be fair, those games are fucking awesome. And not in a Satan do them kind of way, because everyone knows that he only plays Rust. No wonder people think he's pure evil.
You couldn't even get a nut and a bolt to evolve by chance that would fit together.
No, because, wait, what? Why would you even think they would do that? Nuts and bolts don't reproduce. They don't create copies of themselves that are slightly different from each other and or combinations of their parent nuts and bolts. What the fuck are you talking about? This thing that the theory of evolution doesn't apply to. It turns out that the theory of evolution doesn't apply to it. Seriously, how does anyone, and I mean anyone, take this guy seriously? All right, because they're even more ignorant than he is. I forgot it.
Let alone a 747.
Oh look, it's the watchmaker argument. An argument that was old and stupid when this video was actually made, let alone today, when, well, people do still use it, but that doesn't change the fact that it is a shit argument for wankers. Since as will never not need to be explained to these assholes, and they will never fail to not listen/understand, evolution is nothing like a tornado going through a fucking junkyard. And anyone who tells you that it is, literally knows jack shit about the process we call evolution by any kind of selection or otherwise.
You couldn't get one nut on one bolt.
Okay, cool, that's tremendous. It does absolutely nothing in regards to refuting fucking anything, but you are right. Evolution will not make a nut and a bolt that fit together via natural selection or whatever. Good job, you did it. Why you did, I have no fucking idea, but it's not even close to what you think you did. Not that I believe think applies to anything this man does, but there you go.
By blind chance.
I'm sorry, blind chance? Now I know you can't be talking about evolution by natural selection. That shit's not blind chance. The things that form via natural processes are not chance. They are iterations. That's like saying that a game of poker is just blind chance. Now don't get me wrong, the most I know about poker is Balatro, which is to poker as fighting a bear is to foreplay, but some of the same rules apply, especially with bears and foreplay. That shit can get dangerous. Fighting bears is also risky, but when someone plays poker, their cards are essentially random, but regardless of what you get, you can still win based on how you play. Now to be fair, it's not the best analog for natural selection, but the things that you get in evolution will essentially be random, but the ones that help you win at the game of survival are the ones that stick around. That's not random, it's literally selection.
So if they want to believe all this happened, that's fine.
Oh well, thank you so much for allowing me to believe a thing that didn't happen. But I suppose I'm also allowed to believe the things that we can demonstrate to be true with all the countless research and evidence and the everything else we do to come to scientific conclusions. Okay, I will. And you know what? I'll extend you the same courtesy. You can believe whatever gibberish you want. I honestly do not care. But if you want to come out in public and start teaching other people things that are patently untrue as facts and make the world a dumber place, then I'm gonna have a teensy tiny little fucking problem, mate.
But the atoms self-assemble because they're designed to do that.
I still don't know what you mean by that, but how do you know that? What scientific testing did you do to show that that's the case? Where's your studies? What was the methodology? How did you come to that conclusion in a way that is not the science? As in it is the science, because you said science wasn't, because that's the thing. You might think that you know that, but if the only reason you came to that conclusion is because book those say so, then that absolutely isn't fucking science. And frankly, you really should be trying to actually demonstrate that beyond for the Bible says me so. Because fuck, if you could prove that, that's actually a step towards your presupposed conclusion. I mean, you shouldn't be presupposing your conclusion, but frankly, if you could prove it in any way, you would have something. So, yay. Not that you do.
Okay? And as far as the assembly process, That's something I'd love to hear an evolution explain.
You would love to have an evolution explain. Me too, pal. I would love to hear an evolution do anything like that. Because it's a process, not like a living being that does stuff. Now, maybe you just misspoke and you didn't mean to say that. But I don't care. It sounded no more dumb than anything else you've said, so I'm willing to take it at face value like everything else, because I am such a nice asshole.
How did we get from asexual reproduction to sexual reproduction?
Well, you see, like an insane person, instead of asking this question to a crowd of people who don't believe that it's possible, I actually did ask someone who understands how this shit works, better than me anyway. And the quick and dirty answer that they gave me, at least one explanation, is moving from unisexual reproduction to sexual reproduction. That is to say, a creature would have evolved to reproduce using what you would consider male and female gametes, and eventually creatures started inseminating each other's parts with their own, which would have been a good survival adaptation since mixing genes tends to create more robust offspring, and then at some point they started having either or organs, thus becoming a sexually dimorphic species. Now, that's not the only explanation by any means, and mine is certainly very flawed as my understanding goes, but yeah, it's not even close to difficult to explain how this could have come to pass.
Which evolved first, the male or the female?
Fucking neither, Kent. They very much, in any situation, would have evolved at the same time. Seriously, I have no idea how the you think evolution works, but it's not like whatever is in that tiny little hollow head of yours. And you might be thinking, well, this is old, maybe he knows better now. No, he doesn't. This man is incapable of learning shit.
So you got a real problem here.
Yeah, he stood right there on a stage lying to people about science, and then these people go off and tell their friends the lies they learned, and so on and so forth, until a large portion of the population think that scientific facts are just made up in order to make God sad. It's fucking infuriating, frankly.
For as soon as you start going from asexual to sexual reproduction, you got to find two of the opposite sex in the same place.
They would already be there, you dumb asshole. For fuck's sake, he really thinks that species can evolve completely separately from each other into the exact same species. That's just not how it fucking works. Males and females do not evolve separately. They are the same thing, just slightly different versions of the same thing. In the grand scheme of things, this is not that hard. FFS.
At the same time. It's a big world, you know, they're talking billions of years. They got to find each other.
I would ask, did you evolve separately from your brain and then you had to find it, but clearly there never fucking was one.
And be interested. Now you really got a problem, okay? So,
what an absolute dumbass. I would say never change because it's hilarious, but, well, he hasn't. And that's kind of the fucking problem. Oof.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the